I recently watched clips of a video that was very disturbing, and it was more like someone doing commentary on the video. And I do not like this particular person's perspective regarding Black lesbian relationships. And he was discussing the marriage and relationship between the famous rapper Da Brat and her wife, the real BB Judy. And he was expressing his displeasure in them deciding to choose a sperm donor who was a Caucasian man. And he was also explaining how he was against Black women being in lesbian relationships. His name is Dr. Umar Johnson, and I am not a supporter of his work. He has a very cultic mindset, and he's very pro-Black in the sense to where he's an extremist, where he believes that all Blacks are Africans and they all should be in either polygamous relationships together or only monogamous relationships between Black people in heterosexual relationships. Now, the young lady who did the commentary on the video, she brought out some very important highlights, and I want to discuss a little bit more deeper into my thoughts and feelings about men in general who believe that they can interfere in the relationships between lesbian women. And I also want to discuss briefly about the statements that Dr. Umar Johnson mentioned, which were highly offensive, very dangerous statement that he said. He said a few things that were very concerning. And I will mention one of the statements, but you probably can search on YouTube to look for the video. I couldn't watch the whole video because I don't have tolerance or patience for ignorance, as well as homophobia, when it comes from someone, especially who claims to be a leader in the community, specifically the Black community, or someone who claims they are a doctor, a psychologist, and providing such dangerous content and information to thousands of people who can be influenced by his words, especially, men who are very toxic and who do not respect lesbian relationships. And I named the title of this video, "A Man Can't Come Between Two Women in a Relationship." My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. And the statement that I don't even like addressing him as doctor, because I don't know if he's actually a doctor or not, and his views, his perspectives are very unprofessional. So I'll just say Umar Johnson for the remainder of this video. But he made a statement about the relationship, the marriage between the brat and her wife. And he expressed that the Black women should not even be involved in artificial ways of bringing children into this world. And he was expressing how they could have selected a Black man as their sperm donor. And he stated that's the minimum of what they could have done. However, he went even further and stated that Black women need to be with Black men, and that their relationship is not whole without a man. He was stating that they needed guidance and that a man needs to be in their relationship. He went on to give his own opinions, because they are opinions, and stated that instead of them going through some agency to select a sperm donor for their child. Now, mind you, this video came out maybe 9 or 10 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, because um, the brat and her wife, they have already had their child, together. And he was speaking about, at the time when they made the announcement, it got a lot of social media buzz when they announced that their donor. And I don't think that they were really trying to make a literal public service announcement about selecting a Caucasian male as their sperm donor. However, it was just, they're public figures, and the brat is a celebrity, so information kind of gets out about them. And the thing is, lesbian relationships, we do not operate like heterosexual relationships. And so for heterosexual people to judge and pick apart our relationships and what we decide to do in our lesbian relationships is really none of their business. And so they're putting their input, which was never sought after or advised or recommended, they still feel the need to give their orders out to lesbian relationships. And in this regard, Umar Johnson specifically stresses about Black women and Black men and Black relationships. And he's very biased. He's very prejudiced. I do not support his rhetoric at all. However, I'm just stating some of the comments he made in his video. And he went on to say that instead of the brat and her wife selecting a donor from a Caucasian man, he stated that they should have, with their celebrity and their access to so many people in the industry, he stated clearly they could have met at least one man that they could have welcomed into their marriage. And become impregnated by him, and he should have been a Black man exclusively. And the ignorance of his statements, but he was saying that this is one of the statements he stated, and I'll say one more, which was very disturbing. It expressed toxic masculinity and also homophobia and misogyny. And what I really want to say, I am refraining from, for the sake of making sure that the content here is safe to be listened to. But one of his statements was, men need to go and be with these Black lesbians and make these lesbian relationships into polygamous, heterosexual Black relationships. I don't have enough words or time to go over how idiotic he is and how divisive his statements are. When you say that lesbian relationships, and he focuses on, as I stated, this particular relationship between two Black women who love each other immensely. They have a beautiful relationship, a beautiful marriage. And he wholeheartedly disrespected their marriage by stating that they should have been with a Black man and had a baby with a Black man, and he should have been a part of their relationship, and turned their lesbian relationship into a polygamous heterosexual relationship. He went on to say that, I believe that all of these lesbian relationships between Black queens, and just it's very counterproductive to refer to Black women as Black queens, while at the same time you undermine and disrespect their marriages as lesbians. He stated that these relationships between these Black queens, they need to turn these lesbian relationships into polygamous heterosexual relationships between Black men and Black women. Now, the second statement, if that wasn't bad enough, because I was looking at the content and listening to the content. So he said these words, and as I mentioned, you can go and watch the video. It's on YouTube circulating, I'm sure. And I couldn't watch it because I just don't even care to really give him the time. But I know it's very important for me to address this topic because I am a Black lesbian woman, and I am an advocate for lesbian relationships. And I don't limit my support and my advocacy to only Black lesbian relationships. I support every woman who identifies as a lesbian, and I acknowledge and recognize their lesbian relationships, whether they are single, dating, or married. Women who love women, our relationships are real, and our race, our nationality, and our gender and our sexual orientation does not refute the fact that we are valid as well as valuable, important human beings. So this last statement, and I'm going to go on and proceed what else I want to discuss. The last statement that Umar Johnson stated was very disturbing. And the young lady that covered the content, I believe her channel is called TATV Network. She's got some really good content, and shout out to her. That's how I learned about this video that Umar Johnson did, was by her content. And I am totally against who Umar Johnson represents. And he's extremely homophobic. He does not, his disdain for homophobia is not just limited to lesbians, Black lesbians. He even says many harmful things about male relationships, male gay relationships as well. And he does not believe that Black people are organically homosexual. But I digress. So the statement that he made, which was extremely alarming, and I believe it incites misogyny, as well as patriarchal beliefs and diabolical, toxic masculinity. So he stated, quote, "Men need to start invading these lesbian relationships and turn them into heterosexual polygamous relationships," end quote. What do you think when you hear a male say about relationships between women, a union between women, a partnership between women, a marriage between women, lesbian women? And he says on his video, with thousands of people listening, men need to start invading lesbian relationships and turn their lesbian relationships into heterosexual polygamous relationships. That sounds to me like he has no respect for women, and that he thinks that women should be overpowered by men. And he disregards and completely disrespects lesbian relationships. This is completely absurd, very dangerous, very upsetting. And I am 100% against Umar Johnson's stance on men invading lesbian relationships, as if we do not have a voice, as if we do not have a right to be ourselves as women and as lesbians and have relationships and marriages with other women without men dictating what we do. I just want to, also state that when men hear other men, they tend to get more rambunctious, or they develop a false confidence, and they begin to believe that they have all the power or more power than women. And when they start thinking these very toxic, negative thoughts, you begin to negatively influence other men to start thinking that they have every right to violate lesbian relationships. And they continue to perpetrate the mindset that every woman is not a whole or complete woman without a man. And they also spread propaganda that lesbian relationships are founded on dysfunction, as if every woman who is a lesbian has experienced some type of negative relationship with a man before, and that she is now suppressing her desire to be with the man and choosing to be with the woman or settling to be with the woman. And that men need to go in and overpower these women to bring them back to reality by being with a man. Lesbians, we need to stand for one another. We need to protect one another. And we need to be firm in what we say and how we represent ourselves as lesbians. Because I've mentioned various times that lesbians are not taken seriously by most men. And this rhetoric that Umar Johnson was teaching proves it. I'm actually kind of glad that I did not know he did this video. I remember at the time when it was, in social media, a lot of people were upset about the Brad and her wife, Judy, having a Caucasian male donor. There was a lot of homophobic statements made. And I didn't like a lot of the commentary at that time, but I'm glad that this young lady did do the commentary on this video of Umar Johnson, and I stand with her, and I stand against Umar Johnson and any other males who think and act and behave the way they do. A man cannot come between two women in a relationship. As a matter of fact, any man who thinks that he can overturn a lesbian relationship is an oppressor. He is an enemy. And he is not only an enemy to lesbian women, but he is an enemy to all women, regardless of their race, their nationality, or their sexual orientation. We have to protect ourselves at all times. And we will not allow men to dictate our lives. We will be who we are. We have always been who we are as lesbians, and will continue to be who we are as lesbians. I don't even condone all of this women being in relationships with men and women all at the same time, polygamy and polygyny, trying to please men. Because these relationships are not set up for women who love women. These relationships are set up for males to dominate women. They're set up for men to continue on to be selfish in their dealings with women. They want to be the only male in this relationship or this polygamous marriage, and he wants to have multiple women all at his mercy, but he doesn't want the women to be in love with each other. He doesn't want the women to cater or take care of each other. No, he wants all of that attention. They love to be worshiped by women. And that's what these heterosexual polygamous relationships stand for. And you see some of the celebrities, just like Umar Johnson, he's not a celebrity, but he's this public figure. And they're all talking about polygyny nowadays. But it has nothing to do with family structure. It has nothing to do with building up the community. It has everything to do with toxic masculinity and male dominance over women. And I don't support it. And I have a major issue with them wanting to bring it over into homosexual relationships between women. A man can't come between two women in a relationship. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Thank you for listening.